Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. Last night the schedule and the floor map of Blizzcon was announced, and with it gave some pretty interesting details of what to expect for Overwatch at Blizzcon. They've hidden quite a lot of stuff, and going off previous years, that usually means that we're going to be seeing some big announcements across the main 4 flagship games. Overwatch of course, Diablo, which is obviously a big talking point, World of Warcraft, and Hearthstone. I wanted to start off by saying Heroes of the Storm. There is usually a Heroes of the Storm playable area, or at least some esports stuff, but of course, Overwatch canned the HTC, put it on live support, and even worse probably, they moved the Heroes of the Storm game to the Blizzard Arcade alongside Rock and Roll Racing, the Lost Vikings, and the original Diablo. Not only that, they took all of the Heroes of the Storm stuff from previous years off the main stage. It's not even on the secondary stage, it's on the third one. But that's what I mean, stuff like that, changes from previous years, shows where Blizzard's priorities are. Clearly not with Heroes of the Storm, but they are moving forward with other games. Let's start by looking at the floor map, and I really wanted to focus on the Overwatch area. For those that were expecting a big Overwatch 2 thing, a massive area just dedicated to playing this game, you may be slightly disappointed, as the Overwatch Demo area, the area where you can play the new stuff, the new heroes, new maps, whatever, is about the same size roughly as it was last year, where they announced Ashe and not a whole lot else. But I do have a really good theory on what that might include, whether it is new relative stuff such as Overwatch 2, or whether it's the older typical stuff, or what's generally happening there. But might I remind you that Blizzard loves to change its roadmap up, at least before the event. Let's go back to 2014, when Overwatch was first announced. Blizzard love to have their big announcements from BlizzCon playable there. In fact, it's kind of a rule. Everything that they've announced, even Diablo Immortal, was playable on the show floor. They've never announced something and been like, oh, you can't play it, you know, you just gotta wait and see. And so because of that, Blizzard put out fake floor maps, to be honest, by leaving off gaps of certain area where, say in 2014, that's where the Overwatch playable area was. But on the original map, you of course don't see it. In this area by the Mythic stage, looking at this year, you have this empty area at the bottom. Last year, this is where Diablo Immortal was when they announced it. This year, it could very well be where Diablo 4 is playable, because of course there isn't a Diablo demo area. If there was, it would be a great big hint as to what you'd expect on there. More Diablo Immortal, I guess, but my point is that whilst this floor plan looks fairly boring, it's designed to look fairly boring. No doubt this isn't going to be the actual floor plan, there's going to be some bigger areas. Maybe Overwatch takes up a little bit more space of the Hearthstone demo area, considering that the Hearthstone demo area last year was very small. But that's as much as the floor map tells us. What about the schedule? Now looking at this, if I just showed it on screen, doesn't really look like there's much to break down here, but there are a couple of things that they've done differently this year for 2019 that they haven't for 2018 and 17, and much like the part that we did about the floor plan, we're going to go into them and maybe say, why have they changed this? Could it hint to more? Every year has the opening ceremony. It's probably the pinnacle moment of BlizzCon where they announce everything, then the rest of BlizzCon is the chance to play it, talk to devs about it, listen to panels, just generally get the down low. And it's worth adding that the opening ceremony is viewable by everybody on the likes of Twitch and no doubt on the BlizzCon website too. All of the esports stuff as well is viewable for you, but all of the other extra panels such as Life at Blizzard, talking about future updates of say Overwatch, talking to the voice actors, they're all behind the paywall of a BlizzCon virtual pass, but of course you get bits and pieces there. I'd recommend it for the Genji skin alone, but the thing that I did want to highlight is that this year, the opening ceremony is viewable, and also the next 4 coming soon panels, which are on the main Mythic stage. This is interesting. Blizzard want everybody to see this new stuff, and if we compare 2019 to 2018, we get a rough idea on what these coming soon panels are going to be. 2018 we had Diablo, Overwatch, Hearthstone, World of Warcraft and Heroes of the Storm all in order, having a What's Next panel. And this was ordered by the announcements. Diablo of course was first, because the major announcement for last year for BlizzCon was Diablo Immortal. I wish I was kidding. But then we had Overwatch with the addition of Ashe and the Echo animated short with McCree, Hearthstone with the expansion. World of Warcraft didn't have an expansion, so it was just putting out a few patches. Heroes of the Storm, like I mentioned with the floor plan, Blizzard have very much slowly started to push it out of its main focus, because there were 5 panels that year, there's 4 this year. 2017 had a different order. World of Warcraft was first because that was the year the Battle for Azeroth was announced, and they know that that's their big flagship announcement. The order of these panels is important because it gives you a good indication of what is important to Blizzard, what they want to talk about first. Like I mentioned, everybody can see these panels. Blizzard wants as many people to tune in to these big panels talking about potential things like Diablo 4, which is pretty much confirmed at this point. It's lining up nicely that we would get a World of Warcraft expansion after BFA, or at least the announcement where it's going to be set, what the level cap is, so on and so forth. Overwatch will come back to, Hearthstone will probably have a normal expansion, Heroes of the Storm won't be on the main stage this year. It's on the Legendary one. It looks like Blizzard don't care about it. But they're the 4 flagship games. Because there's only 4 panels, it doesn't look likely that they would announce a new IP, the new IP that Tom Chilton's been working on, which could probably be a completely new game, so we're most likely not going to be seeing that unless they have that in the 4 panels and they've relegated Hearthstone to something else, which I would very much doubt because it's not anywhere else. And what order they put these panels in depends on how big Blizzard deem it. For example, if the first coming soon panel at 7:30 says Diablo what's next, we're pretty much going to guess what they're going to talk about at that point. However, if it was Overwatch that was first, then that means that the Overwatch announcement would have to be bigger than Diablo 4 or a new World of Warcraft expansion. You see what I mean? So I think that's why they've completely cleared it just saying coming soon, because they can't even give a sliver of an idea to the community of what panels are coming in what order. Hearthstone's most likely going to be last, but if it was first, it would mean that it has some big announcements and changes coming. But that's not all. Even on the second day, there are a couple of coming soon panels on the main stage, one of which is right next to an Overwatch update, which I find really interesting. Doesn't necessarily mean it's about that, it could be Diablo 4, could be World of Warcraft again, we don't know. But this is where I get into the speculation part, and this is where I feel that all of this lines up to one of the controversial Metro leaks that he put out a couple of days ago. The idea that no new hero is being announced at Blizzcon. And after seeing the schedule and the floor plan, I actually hope that there isn't a new hero at Blizzcon. The reason why I say that is because, like I mentioned, the schedule and the floor plan of this year compared to last year for Overwatch looks relatively the same. But what if they didn't announce the same stuff and the show floor would have an opportunity to play something a little bit different? Let's say, for example, they are going to announce Overwatch 2 as a PvE game, right? They announced that, they have the cinematic which is incorporated into all of that. There is an animated panel sometime in BlizzCon 2, similar to previous years, but all of that space and time that was dedicated to announcing Ashe and a cinematic last year would be dedicated to, this is our new PvE stuff. And the new hero and Hero 32 wouldn't be announced at BlizzCon, but it would come out and be announced shortly afterwards. We've already seen Blizzard and the Overwatch developers move stuff around. They swapped the Summer Games event with Sigma's launch because they wanted a bit more time to finish Sigma. That's what they said themselves. Maybe that's what they're doing here. Maybe they wanted to focus solely on what was going to be shown and announced at BlizzCon, that they went, let's just move Hero 32 back a couple of days, not announce them at BlizzCon, not show off anything, not have them be playable. Let's just focus on the brand new content, the PvE side of stuff that isn't the new hero. That might seem a bit optimistic coming out of me actually. If I was being more cynical and pessimistic, I would say that this year the playable stuff would just be the new hero and watching the cinematic and stuff, much like last year with Ashe and all that jazz. But at least it would have something like, hey, this is what we're working on, much like the Elder Scrolls announcement that was at E3 a couple of years ago. Let's just wrap up because I don't want this to be a massive speculation thing. But Overwatch in terms of floor space is pretty much the exact same as it was last year. Its BlizzCon schedule for panels looks roughly the same as well. So this could mean that we could get another boring year of Overwatch, which I think is very unlikely considering how the community both was very negative last year, but also all of the rumours for Overwatch 2 and PvE aspects. What is hopefully going to happen is that they announce all of the PvE stuff, have a cinematic that correlates to the main game, like I said with Echo, and the Overwatch demo area is 100% committed to showing off the PvE missions if they're Led for Dead-esque, and there won't be a playable new hero at BlizzCon, it won't be announced. They may do that in a couple of weeks time, or sometime in January. They'll probably let us know at BlizzCon, which really ties into the Metro leak from before. Metro could still be wrong, I don't know, but there are the two main options that I can expect coming out of BlizzCon. But let me know what you think if you're going to tune into BlizzCon, whether you think that there's any interesting things with the roadmap that we didn't highlight. It's still a big area to play Overwatch, but we'll have to see what that area is going to include. Thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you then.